come to order, please? I have reading glasses now. I can look at you all over them. Our afternoon is going to begin with the year in review video, so I encourage you to be someplace where you can see it on a screen, but know that if you're not, it's going to get launched next week on all of our social media and our website, so you will get to see this and share this.
Sometimes it feels like there isn't much joy in the world. War, hate, anger, division. They're out there in the world, but they're here in our churches too, along with loneliness and grief and fear. Those are hard things and hard feelings, but they're also biblical. They're all in the gospel. Easter morning, the women went to the tomb with just those experiences. They were victims of state-sponsored violence, grief at the loss of their friend and rabbi, uncertainty about what the future would hold. And in that moment, there was no way they could solve all of those problems. They couldn't fix everything. So they did the one thing they could. They went with spices to anoint the body of Jesus to give him an honorable burial. And then it all changed. Because they took the time to do the one thing they could, they discovered a joy beyond all imagination. I see glimpses of joy and resurrection in our congregations. Congregation having pizza at an open mic night for local artists. Congregations praising Jesus through song and prayer and preaching. A memory cafe for people with dementia and their caregivers. Crocheting with plastic yarn to make blankets for people who don't have homes that are warm and don't get messed up in the rain. Children and youth discovering their faith at Chapel Rock. And at arts camps, Vacation Bible School, and Sunday school. People heeding God's call to the ordination to the priesthood and the diaconate. Loving and worshiping with your neighbors who share your values and your zip code and your politics, and loving and worshiping with neighbors who share none of those things. The Diocese of Arizona does not have the capacity to solve all the problems of the world. But like the women, we can do the one thing that is given to us to do.
Get up and give hope a try. Don't let the chance pass us by. All we gotta do is give the world a little bit of love, 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 love. Get up and give hope a try. Give it a try. Don't let the chance pass us by. All we gotta do is give the world a little bit of love, love, love.
And by doing that one thing, we'll be in the place we need to be, where we can see the risen Jesus and discover that boundless and unimagined joy.
Thank you especially to Laurel Way for helping pull that all together. I have the report on the first ballot, and I am exceptionally pleased to say that we will not have to have a second ballot. For the report on the election of the Secretary of Convention, Janet Phelps was elected by acclamation as she was running unopposed. For the Standing Committee for the Clerical Order, candidate Halley received 198 votes. Candidate Hurst received 149 votes. Candidate Ruffin received 228 votes. I declare candidates Halley and Ruffin elected. For Standing Committee in the Lay Order, candidate James received 218 votes. Candidate Kim Hayes received 186 votes, and candidate Packard received 161 votes. I declare candidates James and Kim Hayes elected. For the Disciplinary Board and the Clerical Order, there were 3 slots available and 3 people who ran, so I declare candidates Cox-Oney, McComas, and Rutledge elected. For the Disciplinary Board in the Lay Order, candidate Brown received 147 votes, candidate Coons received 210 votes, candidate Nicastro 84, candidate Brotherton 103, candidate Hatcher 161, and candidate Weaver 106. I declare candidates Brown, Coons, and Hatcher elected. Those who have been elected to the Standing Committee, please check your email for an email from Serena with a Zoom link for the Zoom meeting for next Thursday, October 24th. Congratulations. I also have more good news to share, which is that at the offertory today for the LGBTQ plus ministry, we collected $2,442. Someone tell the people at the Pride booth in Phoenix right now. Yeah, exactly. All right, I call upon Susie Mortensen to present the 2025 Financial Statement of Mission.
Wow, it's a different view up here. This is great. Good afternoon, I am Susie Mortensen, and I'm going to walk you through some highlights of our 2025 proposed Statement of Mission. This plan was emailed to all the convention delegates late in September, and last week, I guess a couple weeks ago, we had a workshop online for a very detailed review of this document. So today I'm going to go through it pretty quickly since many of you were on that workshop, and I don't want to repeat too much for you today. And just before we get started, here's my pitch that I like to do every single time I present this, and that is why we call it a financial statement of mission. The idea is that we are developing a spending plan that is going to support the mission and the ministry of this diocese and all of you. Okay, next slide. Oh, there it is. So our 2025 Statement of Mission has been formed with key objectives in mind. We want to continue to support the churches and the missions as they grow Christ Church to become the beloved community. We want to adequately support clergy and staff with reasonable wages and benefits. And of course, we want to continue the support of ministries throughout our diocese. Now, the other highlights for today are all staff are in their position for over a year or more, received a 3% increase. In the category of diocesan clergy staff, the canon for children and youth became a part-time position in 2024, but as you know, for 2025, Bishop is going to be doing some surveying and talking with all of you and figuring out what we are looking for in that position. In the category of diocesan lay staff, we added the diocesan auditor. Yay! We changed the role of the finance and property assistant to be the accounts payable and accounts receivable assistant. We added a payroll and benefits coordinator. We reduced the human resource administrator position to more of a contract position, as the payroll and benefits coordinator really is going to be able to handle a lot more of the tasks, particularly as it relates to benefits that the human resource administrator did. We also added 2 initiatives to social ministries. These are funded by the charitable trust, by a charitable trust that we're going to receive a grant from. They include the Justice Initiative at $15,000 and the Mental Health Initiative at $20,000. And just a shout out to the diocesan staff and the finance team. I feel like we have a really good blend of the right ratio of people in there right now, and I'm so grateful to Tony Murdoch and to Clarissa Ortiz, and of course our new Director of Finance, Kevin Lentz. So very glad to have this wonderful support team here. All right, moving on to the specifics of the plan. Our revenue for 2025 is projected to be just under $3.9 million. This is a decrease of about $30,000 from 2024. Projected mission share is going to be $2,775,000, and the assessment percentage is going to remain at 16.9%. Now, this is an increase. The 2.775 is a $25,000 increase over the current year, and as Bishop mentioned this morning, we are seeing growth in the diocese, and so I think that is what is telling us that we're going to be okay with this level of increase. Draws from our restricted funds are going to decrease by about $21,000, and let's go on to the next slide. In our category of other income, as you know, we're going to be charging a fee for the services that Patty is going to provide, but it's going to be much cheaper than getting an audit by a CPA. That's going to be an increase of $40,000 for us. In the category of grants, as I mentioned, we are the recipient of a grant from a charitable trust. That, along with other grants, will help to increase our grant revenue by $50,000. Retreats, camps, and other events, this is going to be an increase of almost $22,000, as we are going to have a 2-day convention next year, so that'll be a slight increase in the fees for that. And also, under retreats, we are expecting clergy, lay leader, and the monastic retreats to have some higher attendance. And finally, I want to talk about our endowment income. This is going to decrease by $160,000 from what we had in 2024. And this is going to be this will bring us more in line with an appropriate draw from our endowment funds. And the draws from our endowment funds will primarily support diocesan operations and mission support. Oh, this is like one of my favorites. Okay. So this, I love seeing the big picture of how this really plays out. The big blue wedge here of our revenue is mission share, of course. That's 71% of our plan. We also are bringing in 9.1% of restricted funds, 6.2% from our endowments, just under 6% for other revenue. Let's see, fees and repayments, that's 4.6%, and 2.8% from camps and leadership. So that's how the total revenue of $3.8 million, almost $3.9 million, that's how it breaks out in a picture form. All right, we're going to move on to expenses. This is amazing. Expenses are also going to be just under $3.9 million. This is also a decrease of almost $30,000 from the 2024 plan. In the category of ministries and programs, we're going to see an overall increase of about $20,000 there, and a lot of that is due to those initiatives that we said that we were going to have. So in the social justice category, this is where the Justice Initiative is for $15,000 and the Mental Health Initiative for $20,000. Campus Ministries is going to increase by just under $17,000, and that's in part due to the increases in salary that we are projecting, as well as a change in the benefit election for health insurance. Let's see. I'm going to jump down to the adult education and events. This is going to be a decrease of $36,000. The projection for camps and retreats is a little bit lower in 2025, in part due to lower projected costs, and also due to a little miscalculation. But when I look at this for the amount of cost that we're projecting for 2025 and compare it to our projected cost for 2024, it's reasonably close. And so we'll just have to keep an eye on this particular line, and if, hopefully it will come in a bit lower than well, not that low maybe, but we will also then, we'll just look for other areas where we can maybe garner some savings. So again, the net decrease in ministries and programs is just under $20,000. For clergy compensation, I mentioned earlier that the canon for children and youth went to a part-time position, and we know already that we'll be looking at that. But between that and the overall increase in health insurance and the salary increases for the other clergy, that brings us to a net decrease year over year of about $36,600. In diocesan staff compensation and benefits, that's just a slight increase of $2,300, but it's kind of spread all over the place. In compensation, that's going up by about $27,000, in part because we have a diocesan auditor now. Yay. This is going to be offset by a reduction in benefits and taxes. The position for the assistant to the canon of the ordinary, we're projecting it to be replaced with a part-time position, and that would be no health insurance, which brings that projected expense down by almost $25,000. So that's the net decrease in diocesan compensation and benefits is just over $34,000. In the area of governance and polity, I want to talk about the Episcopal Church assessment that the diocese pays. We are projecting that to be $368,000 in 2025, which is an increase of $36,000 over 2024. I mentioned the convention's going to be a 2-day convention. That will increase our overall cost year over year by $6,000. But the general convention is not going to happen in 2025 because we only do that once every 3 years, and so that's a savings of $48,500. So the net decrease in governance and polity is just under $6,500. So mission in our congregations, the diocese provides varying degrees of support for 14 missions in the cathedral, and the majority of this increase of just over $7,500 is due to, primarily due to that 3% increase for salaries. And then our donor restricted funds is going to be a net decrease of $12,600. The Alleluia Fund is showing a decrease of about $7,600. We had a program that we were doing for 3 years, and that program ends in 2024, so we won't have that expense in 2025. And then we are discontinuing the support of Harbor Church, which was the use of Neely funds. All right, and this last slide which is just numbers still. I just want to give you kind of a summary of the support of congregations, both from the revenue side and from the expense side. And so you can see that the expense for mission in our congregations, which we talked about, and the expense for churches supported by the Alleluia Fund, those two combined. In 2024, those numbers were $950,760, and in 2025, it's now $948,000. So a slight decrease year over year. But one of the things that we have been working to do with these churches who are getting support from us is we're working with them to help them be able to contribute towards part of that expense. And so they are diligently paying some costs, some amount that helps to offset the clergy salaries of the clergy. And that was $85,000 in 2024, and it's going up to $97,200. So year over year, the net cost is decreasing from $865,000 to $851,000. Okay, enough of the numbers. It's time for pictures again. All right, so just like I gave you a picture of pie chart of the total revenue that we have, this is a pie chart that shows the total expenses and where our money, where the spending is happening. So 54% is going to support of congregations, communities and ministries. If you add the purple wedge and the yellow wedge together, that is about 15%, and that's the diocesan clergy staff. But I wanted to break this out so that you could see how much a clergy cost is just to support ministry. And this is going to be like our canon for Hispanic and Latino ministry, our canon for children or youth, our canon for Native American ministry, and our canon for border ministry. So I think it's important for you to see that it's not all just clergy, running things around. It is our clergy supporting our ministries out in the field. And in the diocesan staff support, same thing there. That's just over 19% if you take the big green wedge and the little itty-bitty orange wedge. And because we have a couple of support staff who are just strictly doing ministry support in our congregations and throughout the diocese. And then finally, the little pink wedge there, that's operating expense, that's 11.3%. That's the really boring stuff. That's, our utilities, it's the property insurance, maintenance, various things like that. But the exciting things are communication and IT. And before we go to this next slide, I want you to focus on that big blue wedge there, that 54.3% support for congregations. This last slide that I'm going to show you is how that actually breaks out to the various ministries that we have. So the next slide. There it is, yay, okay. So in 2025, our projected spend for congregations, communities, and ministries is $2.3 million. And that is 61% of our total revenue. And that breaks out by 33% to mission in our congregations, 15.6% to the greater church, 17.4% to campus ministry, children and youth, 12.2% is Hispanic ministries, Native American ministry, border ministry, black ministries, and social justice. 7.9% is going towards new churches. Our mission share rebate amount is 7% also, and it will remain at 1%. And while I'm talking about mission share rebate, those checks were mailed for third quarter on Friday, so look for those arriving in your offices next week. 4.8% for clergy and seminarian support, and finally, adult education at 2.1%. And that is it.
If we have questions for Susie about the budget, please go to a microphone, introduce yourself, your congregation, and direct your question to her.
Susie, this isn't a question, but it is thank you for the auditing. We were sweating bullets. Mm-hmm. I'm Susan Walker from the Church of the Apostles in Oro Valley. And we were saving for if we had to do an audit. So we thank you for thinking of us.
Absolutely. I am the treasurer of my church also, and I was sweating bullets too on that. And a huge, huge thank you to Patty. We've talked about this for a long time. We knew we needed to do something about this policy. And, being a CPA and knowing, and having been through many audits and knowing what audit firms are going through now and the additional liability that they have, the new standards that they have to comply with, there's just no way that we can afford this kind of expense anymore. And what do we really want? We want assurance that you're doing things appropriately, that you've got good procedures in place, that you've got good segregation of duties. That doesn't take a CPA. It takes an outside person who understands how finances should work and how a church office should work. And thankfully, that person is Patty. And so she did a lot of work to put this policy together, and I'm so grateful to her for making that happen. So thank you, Patty. Any other questions?
Well then, if not, I call upon you to find your red and green cards. So all those in favor of passing the financial statement of mission, please show your green cards. Any opposed, please show your red cards. I believe the financial statement of mission passes unanimously. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you. Thank you.
She came back. I was like, all right, Bishop John, I invite you to come forward and share some greetings from Kisii with our people here.
Thank you very much, Bishop. I bring you greetings from the Diocese of Upper Southern Nyanza, Kisii, Kenya, in the Anglican Church of Kenya. My name is John Orina Omangi, the first diocesan bishop in Upper Southern Nyanza, Kisii. I also bring you greetings from my wife and children. I spoke with them this morning, and they are happy. They saw my face and they were glad. I want to thank Bishop Jennifer for extending the invitation to me to attend this convention. I have visited various churches in this diocese and many historic sites, and I'm excited to be here. I have learned many things, some which are related to us in Africa, some which are far away, but I'm happy to be here. I want to share with you in 2 minutes what we are doing. First, I come from Kisii, southwest Kenya, where I am the first bishop of that diocese, which has been a missionary diocese from 2016. We began the area doing mission with 1,200 Anglicans, with 3 clergy in a population of 3.9 million. The diocese, from one corner to another, is 150 kilometers. It's a relatively poor place. And when we began the diocese, with those 5 clergy, 1,200 Christians, Anglican faithfuls, spread throughout that area, we set up a strategic plan on how to do mission in the area. And our vision was, and still is, to be a growing, caring Anglican diocese boldly proclaiming Christ. The mission has been to equip God's people to transform the society with the gospel. We had 5 objectives. Number 1, acceleration of mission, evangelism and outreach. 2, leadership selection, training. 3, resource mobilization, investment and development. 4, community services. 5, partnership and networking. When we remained true to the strategic plan, we saw church growth. We grew from 1,200 to 9,000. The churches grew from 3, now we have 39, spread throughout the area. And the number of clergy grew from 3, now we have 15 priests and 10 deacons. So that's 22. Most of our churches are in development in terms of infrastructural development. We have churches which worship under a tree, others in semi-permanent structures and temporary structures, and others in a permanent structure. So Bishop Jennifer and I met in Lambert Conference, and we were curious to know the ministry experience in Arizona and in Kisii. And we thank God that her and the team of 5 were able to visit Kenya. And I have come also to see what is happening. I must thank the bishop for allowing me to crisscross the diocese from one point to another, and I've felt at home. You have really made me see many things. I have borrowed some of the things that I'm going to put in Kisii. I come to you to seek partnership through the bishop and the diocese in an area that you will see or think that can be of benefit to us and to you as we share mission experience. We are in the field, and God has privileged us, and there are people outside there who want the gospel of Christ. I'm also added another responsibility in the province to be in charge of youth ministry. And the youth ministry in Kenya is awesome. When I came here for 2 weeks ago, about 4 weeks ago, I had a youth conference which brought together 4,000 youths. And there are other things that we are addressing, but for interest of time, most of the things I have shared in the parishes that I've visited, I now lay it before you and the bishop to think through how best we can partner in mission. God bless you. Thank you.
Bishop John, you inspire me and you help me remember that God loves us and connects us, so thank you. I call upon Ben Guerin for the presentation of the resolutions.
Good afternoon, everyone. Ben Guerin, Episcopal Chaplain to the University of Arizona, and here as your chair of the Resolutions Committee. As we begin, we have 2 normal resolutions, several beginning amendments to our Constitution, followed by a series of amendments to the canons. Many of the amendments to the Constitution and to the canons are language changes that do not have content. Others of them are content specific, and as we are moving through, I will do my best to highlight when we are looking at simple language changes and when we are looking at content changes. Please bear with us. Please keep in mind that we have a lot of work to do, and many of it is very, very basic, fundamental nonprofit management work. And we do this well. We can get through most of this very quickly and taking our time to talk when it is most imperative. Our first resolution, Resolution 2024.27, Remembrance, Recognition, Reconciliation, Relationship, and Reparations, Native Ministry in the Diocese of Arizona. This resolution is primarily remembering everything we have done up to this point in regard to building deeper, more meaningful relationships with Indigenous persons in our congregations and in every level of our community. The key addition that this takes is adding a 5th R to our understanding of how these relationships will work. That is reparations. Very importantly, when that word is mentioned, there is no financial attachment to this resolution. This is about ensuring that the relationships that we are already engaging with our Indigenous neighbors and members are relationships that we now ask, how can we orient it towards a reparative justice model? I move this resolution to the floor and ask Monica Whitaker to second it and to speak to the resolution.
I'm Reverend Monica Whitaker, Rector of St. Matthew's in Chandler, and speak in favor of this resolution. I've served on the Council for Native American Ministry for more than 7 years, and during that time, the Council focused on our mission to remember, recognize, and reconcile past relationships through our nation's traumatic colonialist history and discerned ways to develop authentic, respectful relationships with Native peoples in our local contexts. In the wake of a report by Secretary of Interior Deb Haaland on the history of federal Indian boarding schools, the Council recognized the significance of Arizona being the state with the second largest number of boarding schools in the U.S. In 2023, the Council continued the work of truth-telling by researching the 47 boarding schools, including Phoenix Indian School, the second largest boarding school in the United States. This year, we continue to practice the way of love by engaging in a listening and healing pilgrimage across the 4 directions. We invited Native neighbors with whom we had been growing in deeper relationship to share intergenerational experiences of the Indian boarding school era. As a next step toward becoming beloved community, we seek to repair the breach by discerning together what reparations may look like with our Native American neighbors and relatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. I should mention that the rules of order, which you also received, indicate that the initial proposer of the resolution has 3 minutes to speak, and any subsequent people speaking to it have 2 minutes. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to or against this resolution? Seeing none, I call upon the vote. So all those in favor of resolution 2024.27, please hold up your green cards. And all those opposed, please hold up your red cards. The resolution passes. Thank you.
Our next resolution is resolution 2024.28, support of federal legislation for Truth and Healing Commission. During the last year, one of our partners in the boarding school pilgrimage was the National Native American Boarding School Healing Coalition. This resolution is an adaptation of a resolution that coalition has requested all of its partners to pass in support of the Truth and Healing Commission on Indian Boarding Schools Policies in the United States Act. This resolution will allow us as a diocese to call and be in support of this act and future legislative acts and potential laws that will do the exact same request that this bill makes. I move that this resolution come to the floor and ask the Reverend Monica Whitaker to stand second and speak to the resolution.
Again, I'm Reverend Monica Whitaker, Rector of St. Matthew's in Chandler, and speak in favor of Resolution 2024-28. This resolution continues the foundational work of the Diocese of Arizona, our Council for Native American Ministry, and the wider Episcopal Church as we seek to repair the intergenerational trauma of forced assimilation enacted by the U.S. government over the past 2 centuries. In supporting a Truth and Healing Commission on Indian Boarding Schools Policy Act, we seek ongoing legislative advocacy with our congressional leaders in our shared efforts toward truth-telling, healing, and reparations with Native communities. This legislation is historic and recognizes the importance of acknowledging the trauma and cultural loss experienced by Native children who were forcibly removed from their families and communities and sent to boarding schools. By supporting this legislation, we demonstrate a commitment to address the injustices of the past and take a crucial step towards recognizing and respecting tribal sovereignty. Native communities have the right to heal from the wounds of the past in a way that is meaningful and culturally appropriate to them.
Thank you, Monica.
Are there others who wish to speak for or against this resolution? Seeing none, I call upon the vote. So all those in favor of resolution 2024.28, please hold up your green cards. Those opposed, please hold up your red cards. The resolution passes. Good job, everyone.
Our next series of resolutions will be amendments to the Constitution. These resolutions will be voted on at 2 consecutive diocesan conventions and passed with a 2/3 vote in both orders. So at this convention, we are having the first reading and vote on these resolutions. We will see this series of resolutions at our next convention. Most of these resolutions are language specific. Resolution 2024.1, amend Constitution to no longer reference diocesan council. This resolution will change points that reference the diocesan council and have them now reference the standing committee, as is the practice active in the diocese. I move that this resolution come to the floor and ask the Reverend Canon Erica von Herren to come forward and speak to the resolution.
Or just second it, you know.
Erica von Haren, Trinity Cathedral, and happy to second this motion to clean up our language and make it unified around the standing committee.
And Erica's just going to stay there so that we can be more efficient going forward. So we need to vote by orders on this. So I'm going to ask for the clergy vote first. Will all those of the clergy in favor of, was there anyone else who wishes to speak against it? I mean, diocesan council hasn't existed in a lot of years, so it would be weird if you did, but you can. So all those in favor of this resolution who are clergy, please hold up your green cards. All those who are clergy who are opposed to this resolution, please hold up your red cards. Passes in the clergy order. All those lay delegates who are in favor of the resolution, please hold up your green cards. All those lay delegates who are opposed to the resolution, please hold up your red cards. Resolution 2024.1 passes.
Resolution 2024.2, amend Article 5, Section 3. This amendment will change the pronouns referencing the bishop from he to the singular they. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Reverend Canon Erica von Herren to second and speak to it.
I'm Erica von Haren from Trinity Cathedral and happily support this, second this as its representative of both the bishop we have and bishops of our future.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to this resolution? Yes.
Hi, I'm Douglas Reed from St. Stephen's of Phoenix.
New church.
I think that this amendment is well intended, but I just wanted to point out a concern that when it's read, because they can and has for a much longer time had the plural sense, it introduces an ambiguity where there's now 3 plausible readings. They could refer to the bishop of either gender, but it could also refer to the committee itself or the committee and the bishop together. My concern is obviously the intention is good, but clarity is important because these may need to be interpreted in the least happy of times. So I would just encourage the delegates to consider that when they vote.
Do you wish to offer an amendment to this resolution?
Yeah, if that's in order, I would.
An amendment is in order.
I would move that the word he, or do I amend the original or the resolution? I'm sorry.
The resolution as amended. So tell us what you want
so
to say.
I would move that the word they be substituted with the bishop.
Oh, there we go. Is there a second to the amendment? All right. We are now voting on the amendment to the resolution. So we are not voting on the resolution itself. We are voting to say that we are amending the resolution as it has been proposed. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the amendment? Okay. Then all those in favor, I think we can do this. We don't have to do this by orders, right? Yeah. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your green cards. All those opposed to the amendment, please raise your red cards. The amendment passes. So now we move on to voting on the resolution as amended. We really appreciate the clarity. You may end up on a Constitutions and Canons committee in the very near future. It's like, there's consequences for speaking up at convention. So is anyone else who wishes to speak for or against the resolution as amended? Okay. All those clergy in favor of the resolution as amended, please raise your green cards. All those clergy opposed to the resolution as amended, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution as amended, please raise your green cards. All those opposed to the resolution in the lay order, please raise your red cards. The resolution as amended passes and has given us an excellent opportunity to practice amending resolutions. So,
Resolution 2024.3, amend Article 5, Section 5A. This amendment will change the Constitution in regard to the election of a bishop coadjutor and to elect one or two suffragan bishops without right of succession. I move this resolution to the floor and ask the Reverend Erica Van Haren to speak to it and to second it and to speak to it.
Erica Von Haren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this amendment, and in conversations with the committee, we deemed that there would never be a situation where there would be more suffragan bishops than two, so a simple amendment to clarify that.
Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the resolution? All right, then all those in the clerical order in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those in the clerical order opposed, please raise your red cards. All those in the lay order in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those in the lay order opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Resolution 2024.3 passes.
Resolution 2024.4, amend Article 5, Section 9. This amendment will change the quorum at convention from 1/4 to 1/3 of the parishes and missions entitled to representation in the convention. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Haren to second it and speak to the resolution.
Erica Von Haren, Trinity Cathedral. Pleasure to be with you all today. This intends to assure that we have proper representation in our conventions and as full as we can, so moving from 1/4 to 1/3, assuring there is more than less.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this resolution? All those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those opposed clergy members, raise your red cards. Sorry, did I just... This is like one of those ones like I'm having an out-of-body experience. Like, what did I just say? I did it right? Okay. The Chancellor has said I did it correctly. All those lay delegates to convention who are in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. Lay delegates to convention who are opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Wonderful. Resolution 2024.4 passes. You will get to do this all over again next year.
We are now moving to the canon resolutions. These resolutions must pass by a majority vote in both orders. They only need to pass at one convention. So our votes here will be the one reading and one vote on these resolutions. Resolution 2024-01 is Omnibus Canon Language Update Resolution. This resolution would allow us to go ahead and pass as one omnibus all of the resolutions that follow that are language-only resolutions. One clarity point on here is that Resolution 2024.11 is referenced in this resolution. That resolution was found to have already been completed within the canon change upon a second going overview. So that resolution is not further on here, but it is listed in this resolution. It will cause no action if passed because it's not further on the docket. So this is an omnibus resolution for all the language changes to the canons. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to second it and speak to it.
It's fun to be the standing committee president. Erica Von Herren, Trinity Cathedral, and I think it speaks for itself that these all want to just amend language. So nothing content-wise.
We're eliminating diocesan council, which was already eliminated, and again, making your bishop be not necessarily male. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to Resolution 2024.01? Seeing none, all those clergy in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, raise your red cards. All right, and the resolution passes.
Our next resolution is Resolution 2024.5, amend canons to no longer reference diocesan council. We'll have several of these. This is where all we're doing is simply replacing the term diocesan council with standing committee. As we enter into this, one clerical note is that there is a resolution later in the docket that is a content resolution that is also about one of the resolutions we are updating here. When we get to that resolution later, it will still say diocesan council. The amendment to that resolution, making it say standing committee, will occur in this resolution. It's one of those odd little things. I will explain that again when we get there. But this will change every single statement that references diocesan council in the canons. It's solely switching that with standing committee to that. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Herren to second it and speak to it as needed.
Erica Von Herren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion. I'll leave it there.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the resolution? All right, then all clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Thank you. All lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. The resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.6, amend Canon 1, Section 4G. This is where there is a subclause referencing the lay members of the diocesan council. Those lay members are in the paragraph now as lay members of the standing committee. This simply removes that subclause from the canons. I move this canon to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to speak to it, to second to it, and speak to it if necessary.
Erica Von Herren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion, and I will leave it there.
Would anyone else like to speak to this resolution? Okay. Then all clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Resolution passes.
The resolution 2024.7, amend Canon 27, Section 1. This is dealing with the Diocesan Council Standing Committee reality. Again, in this case, there is a bit of content in that it is specifically naming the merge of, for instead of what it used to be, one member lay and one member clergy from the Diocesan Council and one from the Standing Committee. Now it turns that into 2 clergy members and 2 lay members of the Standing Committee, which has been the active practice since the merging of those 2 bodies. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to second and speak to the resolution if necessary.
Erica Von Haren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion. And only to say that standing committee used to be 6 or 8 people. Diocesan council was larger, so it was pulling from both. Now it's just making it one. So,
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak for or against this resolution? Seeing none, all those clergy deputies in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. Clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. The resolution passes. It's saying the same thing over and over again is actually hard, it turns out.
Resolution 2024.8, amend Canon 1, Section 4B. This is our first content change to the canons that would directly impact the regular order and business of the diocese. This canon change will alter the lay delegates that shall be apportioned to diocesan convention. They will remove wardens from being automatically part of the diocesan convention. Wardens will still be free to be elected otherwise as delegates, and then would apportion the delegations: 2 delegates for an average Sunday attendance of 1 to 49, 3 delegates for an average Sunday attendance of 50 to 99, 4 delegates for an average Sunday attendance of 100 to 199, and 5 delegates for average Sunday attendance of 200 or more. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to second it and speak to the content of this resolution.
Erica Von Haren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion and a little bit of data. What we're aware of is that the model of not requiring wardens as to be delegates to convention is most commonly found in other churches and dioceses around the country. The part of the motivation for this is it reduces the overall convention size by roughly 100 people, and if wardens, as Ben said, wish to be elected, they can be, but they're no longer required to be if this passes. In cost savings to the diocese, this allows us to find spaces amongst our churches that can host, say, 325 plus volunteers versus currently about 430 folks and volunteers. Hotels, et cetera, that we have hosted at in the past are cost prohibitive, being over $100,000 or so for conventions our size, and as you saw in the budget presented for 2025, a 2-day convention in the coming year looks like it'll only be about $42,000, thankfully. So, and in cost savings to individual parishes, 2 less people could be a savings of anywhere from $150 to $500 a year, which makes a difference in all of our bottom lines. If it was based on 2023 parochial reports, then our delegations would be about 148 clergy and 177 lay based on the parochial reports of 2023. So we urge that this motion passes.
Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against the resolution? Please come to the microphone and line up so that we can see how many people there are. So, and there are 2 microphones, and I will go back and forth from them, and so I'll start in the front.
Hi, Douglas Reed, St. Stephen's in Phoenix. I come to the mic mainly with a question about the resolution. Is there anyone who can speak to clarify whether online attendance would count towards these averages or not for those churches?
They would not, because they're based on parochial reports of average Sunday attendance, and the parochial report tracks in-person attendance in one category and online attendance separately.
Thank you.
Well, look at that. Multiple. Yes.
Kathy
First
Cheatham,
microphone.
Kathy Cheatham, St. Mark's, Mesa. And I'll make a comment, because to me, all of the wardens that I know that are serving this diocesan, are very intelligent. They know what they're doing. They know this convention very well. And so to possibly eliminate them, you're not really eliminating them, because I do understand that they can also be a delegate instead. I just have a weird feeling about it. I feel like we might lose some good knowledge, the people who have been doing this for a while. So that's just a little concern. I understand totally about the monies and everything else involved, but I just wanted to say that. I think all of our wardens are fabulously intelligent and really good workers for this diocese.
I absolutely concur that all wardens? All wardens are great, and I just had lunch with them. Thank you. The back microphone.
Eve Gdanek at St. Matthew's, Tucson. I would like to say, as a senior warden, that I appreciate, from looking at the financial statement of mission each month, the cost savings outweigh my attendance or any other senior wardens, and I would be happy to put my name forth to be voted on to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
Gary Sear, the rector of St. Andrew's in Nogales, and as a tiny parish that's discerning its way forward, we would only have one vote if we didn't have a junior and senior warden voting, so we would lose 2/3 of our votes.
You would have two.
We would still lose a vote. Smaller
right. You would lose a vote, yes,
right.
Sorry. I thought you said you would only have one vote.
For me, who wants the church to be less clerically centered and more lay centered, reducing that voice really doesn't sit well with me, and I'm going to vote this down. Because of that, I think the lay people in this diocese deserve a voice. And as one who's had his voice silenced because of being a queer gay man in the church, I can't support that.
Back microphone.
Am I recognized?
You are the back microphone.
Okay. James Schrodenheiser at St. Peter's, Litchfield Park. There are two things I really like about this. One, the Episcopal Church has a at least partially fictional idea of the recording of membership, which means that it varies wildly depending on who's counting the noses. And so my term for the supposed members that I've never met are ghosts. So some clergy journal those out. This removes that subjective variation, which is huge, because average Sunday attendance is actually a real number. So I really like that. The other thing I want to point out is we have had an extraordinarily large number of lay delegates compared to other dioceses. There's no evidence that other dioceses that have a more contentious, or maybe that's not the nicest word, spirited disagreement culture that use, like the Diocese of New York and Michigan come to mind, having 100 fewer lay delegates doesn't change the culture. What changes the culture is whether you defer to clergy rather than assuming you are an equal partner in the ministry of Jesus. So I would encourage us to diversify our culture, but that's not what this canon's about. This canon is simply about how to run the meeting in an orderly and economical fashion, so I commend these two changes for that. This change for those two reasons. Thank you.
Front microphone.
My name is Claire Yarborough, and I'm from St. Michael's and All Angels in Tucson. And I was not always part of what I would call a rather large or medium-sized parish. I've been a rector in a little backwater parish that doesn't get out much, and it was a joy to bring wardens who had their nose to the grindstone trying to cobble together a budget and pay the assessment and all of that. It was a joy to bring them to convention leaders and have them hear a thunderous room full of people screaming out the hymns that only, for a choir of 4 quavery voices was singing. And I would hate, as a rector, if I were to be a rector of a small little parish, to lose that opportunity to have the lay leaders get a larger idea of just what goes into the Episcopal Church, that it's not a little itty-bitty parish, it's part of something much bigger. And it would be easier, and it's always easier then, to have a vestry approve paying the dues and have them excited about being part of something larger. So I think something, yes, I understand costs cut. I do. But sometimes when you, in your zeal to cut costs, you cut something extremely important that should be still retained. So I don't think this is one of those, look at how much money we can save and get the same results. I think the results would be different.
Back microphone.
Hi, Scott McComas, Church of the Nativity, Scottsdale, former banker. I think this time of anxiety, this is a good plan. People can still come as visitors. They can run for office. It's great to see so many folks here, but I think we have to be realistic with the money, and so I support these. Thank you.
Back microphone again.
Howdy. Mike Adjemi. I'm from Good Shepherd of the Hills, and I asked questions about this in the meeting earlier this week, and came prepared to vote for it because I understood that any number of members of the Episcopal Church could come as non-voting observers, and I thought, that's great. And then I listened to one gentleman speak about disenfranchisement, which kind of hit me hard. And I'm at the point where I need to think about this a lot more before I vote for a resolution that has the potential to disenfranchise my fellow church members. So I intend to vote no for this. Thanks.
Front microphone.
Hi, Dawn Conley, St. Peter's, Litchfield Park. I am a fifth-generation cradle Episcopalian, and I get emotional because I struggle with this church. And the idea of because somebody does not go to a larger church, their voice is silenced by minimizing the amount of delegates that can attend is not okay with me. I've always been fighting for inclusion of everybody. And because your church has 50 versus 300 should not minimize that. And the defense and the argument of we can't find the money is something that is going on in this church too long. I am very much speaking and against this for anyone in here who is in a small parish. You deserve your voice in the same numbers as someone in a large parish. I speak against this resolution.
Thank you, John. I just want to offer a clarification. If you look at the resolution, the part that's been cut out, so all churches would be losing representation, whether you're small or large. The smaller churches lose one, some of the larger churches lose two. So I just want to clarify that everyone is losing something and it's not targeted at smaller churches, but we'll continue the discussion. Back microphone.
Thank you. Lisa Montgomery, St. Peter's, Litchfield Park. It appears to me that this is actually two amendments. It's not one amendment. One, you are asking the question about should wardens continue to be an automatic delegate. The second question goes to the apportion in terms of your church size. And I would love to propose, I don't know if it's out of order, just tell me, that these be two different questions. One voting about the wardens, and then the second one about the size and the amount of delegates you should have.
Okay, so if you're going to propose that amendment, you need to tell us how you want to amend the resolution.
I would like to split the amendment into two. The first would be the question of...
So you'd like to first have the first paragraph where it says, where it's crossing out wardens and?
Right, because I can't say so.
Okay. And then you would like a separate resolution for the rest of the resolution?
Yes, in terms of, the number of the church size to the delegates. Because combining them is kind of manipulative, kind of tricky.
We are, 1 minute, please. We have a parliamentary thing.
The amount of people in services.
All right. So we're trying to understand how to do this. So we are now voting on the amendment to the resolution, which is essentially creating a new resolution. So the resolution we are creating, let's say, is the first one, is the wardens.
Yeah. So resolution 2024.8B would simply be basically the erasing of the wardens and from B, and then there is going to be a mention of the wardens in the lay delegates, and then the then to wardens section in the cross-out part would be one thing that would just extract the wardens from the process. And then we would have, so that would be A, and then 2024.8B would be replacing the what is in red and not struck out outside of the wardens in that first sentence, and then striking out the bottom section. We would have to finagle things a little bit if we with adding wardens back in elsewhere, but we can do that through amendment if we need to.
All right, so the issue on the table is the division of these two resolutions. So now we are able to speak. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to or against the division of the resolutions? Yes.
Yeah, I think that the division of the issues in this resolution is actually a good thing. I think that there's 3 separate issues that have been spoken to. So I think I'm proposing an amendment to the amendment. So I think we should be voting on whether to change the way attendance is reported, which seems to be less controversial than the delegate apportionment. And then otherwise, I support what the previous delegate amended.
Who can do that? Erica, can you come here for a second? Could you move to table this resolution? Because there's no way we can do all this at once. So we have to go. All right, can I call upon the front microphone?
Erica Von Haren, Trinity Cathedral. Back again to move that we table this resolution.
I need a second to that.
Kathy Cheatham, second.
All those in favor of tabling, and by tabling I'm saying like we're tabling this whole conversation. Green cards. All those opposed to tabling the resolution, red cards. All right, thank you. The resolution has been tabled.
Thank you.
We are now at resolution 2024.8, amend canon 1, section 4E. On account of the fact that we have tabled the previous resolution, I actually moved for the tabling of this resolution as it is directly attached to the conversation of the previous resolution, and ask Eric Von Herren to either correct me or to second.
Let's table it.
All those in favor, green cards. All those opposed, red cards. Duly noted. Tabled.
Resolution 2024.9, amend Canon 1, Section 5. This is another content resolution. Canon 1, Section 5, election by ballot. Elections may be by voice, electronic, or paper ballot unless dispensed with by unanimous consent. Elections of candidates for office shall be by ballot. No vote may be cast by proxy in the convention. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to second it and speak to it.
This is Erica Von Herren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion. This is a point of clarity, just that our elections can happen in these different ways, and candidates for office shall be by ballot, specifically.
Anyone want to speak for or against this resolution? All right. All those clergy members, I have to remember my lines again. Clergy members in favor of this resolution, please hold up your green cards. Clergy members opposed, please raise your red cards. Lay delegates in favor, raise your green cards. Lay delegates opposed, raise your red cards. All right, the resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.10, amend Canon 2, Section 2. This will amend the canon to read simply, archdeacons, the bishop may appoint one or more archdeacons. And remove other restrictions onto the appointment of archdeacons. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to second and speak to the resolution.
Erica Von Herren, Trinity Cathedral. I second this motion. No comment.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against it? Great. All those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.12, remove Canon 4, Section 5. Canon 4, Section 5 brings forth it describes the business manager. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to second it and speak to the resolution.
I second this motion. This is basically a language change of some sort, of some sense, in that the bishop can staff her office as she sees fit without particular titles having to apply to particular people. So this just allows her to staff as she sees fit.
Anyone wish to speak for or against the resolution? All those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay people, lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. Lay delegates opposed to the resolution, wave your red cards. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather. The resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.13, amend Canon 5, Section 4. This is the canon I referenced earlier when I mentioned that this does in here state diocesan council. We have already amended this canon so that it now reads standing committee. The change here then is to any congregation that fails to pay its diocesan mission share for 6 months, no longer 2 months, within a 12-month period, may be required by the bishop to meet with a committee appointed by the bishop with approval of the standing committee. Members of congregations that are 6 or more months or more behind in paying their mission share shall not be eligible for election to diocesan office. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to second it and to speak to the resolution.
I second this motion, and in speaking to it, this is both a way for the bishop to appoint who she would wish to be working with congregations that are dealing with difficulties that are preventing them to pay their mission share, but also have some accountability for that at the same time.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against this resolution? My man. I will appoint you to any office you want.
Douglas Reed, currently contemplating the office that I want. From St. Stephen's of Phoenix. That feels like collective punishment to me.
Feels like, sorry, can you?
The portion of this that called members of congregations that are behind on mission share shall not be eligible for election feels like collective punishment to me. It's a collective responsibility, so I think that the accountability should be in some other form. Also, I don't see this as an effective form of accountability because our membership is easy to change from congregation to congregation. So if that was really something that was at the crux of this issue, I don't think that it would accomplish the intended means. So I'm going to vote against this.
Back microphone.
James Rodenheiser, St. Peter's, Litchfield Park. While I'm more comfortable with the idea of collective guilt as a biblical concept than many North Americans, it would make more rational sense to me to say, as other dioceses do, that it's the lay deputies that wouldn't vote on financial matters if there wasn't an agreement in place with standing committee and a bishop after a 6 months arrears, rather than possibly singling out the few people in each congregation who are adamantly against that but are actually wanting to run for an office. So I would motion to table this resolution for further work.
You wouldn't prefer to amend it?
I just said table it because I thought it would take less time. But if you want me to make a substitute...
It will, except that what I would really like is to remove the first part of this, which says that if you're 2 months behind in your mission share, which many congregations...
itself.
Okay.
That's the collective biblical punishment sentence.
So we are eliminating, you are asking us to amend the resolution by eliminating members of congregations that are 6 months or more behind in paying their mission share shall not be eligible for election to diocesan office.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone who wishes to speak for or against just that amendment? All right. Find a microphone. I'm sorry, the tall people clearly set these microphones up.
Sure. Kim Litzy, Cape Creek, Good Shepherd of the Hills, Cape Creek. I wonder if we should use the proverbial may rather than shall, which would allow for a conversation to begin in a pastoral way. So
Okay,
shall.
so you're offering an amendment to the amendment?
Yes, I guess I am.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry, going through my
So-
parliamentary procedure hat amendment to the amendment. Okay, so that is in order, right? Okay, so now you are asking us to change the word may to shall. Oh, well, okay, that means nothing then. That amendment is not in order because that means it does not have sense. So, so we need to vote on if we want to amend the resolution as because it's gone already. So the proposed amendment eliminates that sentence, so we can't change the sentence if it's been eliminated. So if you want to change that sentence, you need to vote down the amendment so that the sentence goes back in. So we are still considering James Rodenheiser's resolution to amend the resolution by eliminating the sentence beginning members of congregations. Is anyone else wanting to speak to that specific amendment?
Oh, second, there we go. Thank you. Sorry, I got distracted. Yes, front microphone first.
Christopher Campbell, St. Philip's in the Hills. Just with possibilities being brought up of amending that, I would just second or put forward that perhaps not striking it is a good way to move forward, with the idea that amending what that sentence is may be the better option.
Okay.
Just as another option, yeah.
There we heard. Back microphone.
Deacon Michael Smithson, Trinity Cathedral. Speaking in favor of the amendment to strike the sentence, it seems like there's a lot of non-consensus among how best to apply the spirit of what that sentence originally is trying to do, without, while there seems to be quite a bit of agreement that the sentence as written is not desired. So I think that the amendment to strike that sentence allows us to approve the first portion, which seems largely in agreement, while tabling this second portion for the next convention to give the Canons Committee more time to study the issue.
Thank you, Michael. Is anyone else wishing to speak for or against this amendment? Okay, we are now voting on the amendment, which is the elimination of the sentence beginning members of congregations. All those in favor of the amendment as submitted, i.e. getting rid of that sentence, please raise your green cards. All those opposed to the amendment, please raise your red cards. The motion is now amended because there was a substantial green majority. So now we are voting on the amended Resolution 2024.13, which now no longer has that last sentence of accountability. And so is there anyone who wishes to speak to that resolution as amended? Back microphone.
Hi, I'm Daniel Packard with Nativity in Scottsdale. I just had a question about the timing. It's been 2 months for quite a long time, and we're proposing changing it to 6 months, which seems like that's half a year. So could you give me some idea of why we're going from 2 months to half a year and not maybe 3 months? I'm kind of struggling with the 6 months, like perhaps that's too long.
I mean, we can change it to anything because it's parliamentary procedure and we can. I would say in our experience, a congregation that's in arrears for 2 months is not a big deal. Lots of you have been there. 3 months, getting worse. By then we're noticing. By the time it's 6 months, we're going to be talking to you and figuring this out and what's going on. So I don't know that there is a benefit to, we can talk to anybody at any point. This is just saying that by the time it's 6 months, we're really going to be talking to you and entering into conversation.
But the conversations would happen beforehand.
Well, the conversation would be happening before, but by 6 months, it's canonical, like, hey, we have to talk to you, or want to.
Okay, thank you.
Scott.
Scott McComas, Church of Nativity, Scottsdale, former banker. I would make an amendment to change it to 4 months, which is 120 days, which is more than 1/4 in order for the finances to get in order, and I'm happy to help volunteer as a former banker for any of this.
All right, so there is an amendment to change 6 to 4. We are now talking about this amendment. So may I hear a second from the back? Thank you. Is there any discussion of changing 6 to 4? Now I feel like I'm an auctioneer.
Christopher Campbell, St. Philip's in the Hills. I'm just speaking towards keeping it at 6 months. I believe that, I think our bishop is a wonderful person and will probably reach out to these parishes beforehand. However, also, the limit of 6 months, I think, is the perfect time. We're talking about half of the fiscal year at that point. Hopefully there are plans prior to that half fiscal year which have already started to be put into motion. We should hopefully already see progress at that point. If we're talking about every 4 months, it's not quite enough time to see that there is a problem, think of what a solution might be, implement said solution, and see if it could actually fix the problem. So I think 6 months both gives the parish enough leeway to be able to actually address the issue, while also giving the bishop enough force forward to be able to stop within the half fiscal year and address the issue canonically.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking about the amendment of 4 to 6? 6 to 4, yes. So voting on the amendment. So the amendment is proposed to change 6 months to 4 months. So all those in favor of the amendment, which changes 6 to 4, please raise your green cards. All those opposed, please raise your red cards. The amendment does not pass, and the resolution returns to its once amended state, and it's still not original state, but it's residual form. Thank you. I need a chancellor. I don't even know what to call it anymore. So we are now voting, unless anyone else wishes to speak to it, on Resolution 2024.13 as amended the first time, but not the second time. All those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All right, all those lay members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Oh, there's a nice little field of red in the back, but it is not enough to be more than 50%. So that passes in both orders, and the resolution as amended is passed.
Our next is Resolution 2024.14, amend Canon 6, Section 1. There shall be a nominating committee which shall consist of at least 3 members of the diocese, including at least 1 lay person and 1 clergy person. This changes from the current canon, which suggests that the nominating committee shall consist of 3 members of the clergy and 3 lay persons. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to come forward, second the resolution, and speak to it.
I second the resolution and would simply say this makes it a little bit easier to find the number of volunteers needed to fulfill these roles.
Anyone like to speak for or against the resolution? All right, all those clergy members in favor of Resolution 2024.14, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to Resolution 2024.14, please raise your red cards. All right, all those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. The resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.15 has been passed within an omnibus bill. Resolution 2024.16, amend Canon 7, Section 1. Not fewer than 90 days prior to each annual convention, the bishop shall appoint a resolutions committee which shall consist of at least 3 members of the diocese, including at least 1 lay person and 1 clergy member in good standing in the diocese. This replaces which shall consist of not fewer than 3 members of the clergy canonically resident in the diocese and not fewer than 3 lay communicants. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to come forward, second it, and speak to the resolution.
I second this motion with the same understanding as the previous one, that this just makes it a little easier to recruit to these kinds of committees.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the resolution? All right, then all those clergy members in favor of Resolution 2024.16, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed, please raise your red cards. Thank you. All those lay members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay members of the lay delegates of convention opposed, please raise your red cards. All right, the resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.17 has been approved with the omnibus resolution. Resolution 24.18, amend Canon 8, Section 5. The new amendment, the new canon would read, the General Convention deputation shall produce a unified written report and make a presentation to the diocese following the General Convention. The previous canon calls for each deputy that has been on the floor of convention to make their own individual report. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to come forward, second the resolution, and speak to it.
I second this resolution because I, and probably others, would prefer to read one report rather than a dozen.
Would anyone else like to speak for or against the resolution? Seeing. Do I see movement to, no, do I see microphones, or I just see movement to people getting tired of sitting? Okay. All those clergy members in favor of this resolution, please raise your green cards. All clergy members opposed to this resolution, please raise your red cards. All right, all those lay members, lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. The resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.19, amend Canon 15, Section 4. The changed amendment would read, canon would read, vestry members may serve 2 consecutive terms of 3 years, but are not eligible for re-election until after the expiration of 1 year from the date of the termination of their prior 3-year term. This replaces no members of the vestry may be eligible for re-election to a full 3-year term until after the expiration of 1 year from the date of the termination of a prior full 3-year term. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to move forward, second it, and speak to the resolution.
I second the resolution, second the canon change. Most of our parish bylaws allow for 2 consecutive terms. This diocesan canon does not, and so we're coming into alignment with what parishes are already doing so that we're all on the same page and acting out the same way.
Okay, would anyone like to speak for or against the resolution? Come on up.
Eric Lodge, St. Stephen's, Douglas. Does this include bishops' committees, not
Yes.
just vestries?
Yes, though bishops' committees are often in congregations where such rotation is not always possible, and so with permission of the bishop, we can get around this. If you're a congregation of 12 people, right, like you're not going to be able to have terms like this sometimes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Then all those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All right, the resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.20, amend Canon 15, Section 6, on the annual parish meeting. This would expand the timeline in which an annual parish meeting can happen to read, the annual parish meeting shall be held during the months of January, adding February, and then continue, or in the month of December immediately preceding the month of January in which the meeting would otherwise be held. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Van Haren to come forward, second it, and speak to the resolution.
I second the motion, and this is just to give us all a little more breathing room for annual meetings.
I get a lot of emails in January saying, can we move our annual meeting to February? So now you would be able to do that. Anyone else want to speak for or against the resolution? All right, then all those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.21 was approved in the large omnibus resolution earlier. Resolution 2024.22, amend Canon 19, Section 1D. This would now read, at the hearing, the bishop and standing committee shall jointly consider the petition, the recommendations of the finance committee, and add "and any other diocesan body that has worked with the congregation," and strike through "and the stewardship committee," and all other evidence that may be then presented. I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to come forward, second it, and speak to the resolution.
I second the motion. This is in regard to if a parish seeks to be converted into mission status, that the people, the bishop and her team would like, and the standing committee would like to speak to about that and take in evidence about that decision they can refer to instead of just a stewardship committee.
Anyone like to speak for or against the resolution? All right, then all those clergy members in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those clergy members opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. All those lay delegates in favor of the resolution, please raise your green cards. All those lay delegates opposed to the resolution, please raise your red cards. Resolution passes.
Resolutions 2024.23 and .24 were approved earlier in the omnibus resolution. Resolution 2024.25, amend Canon 26, Section 1. This is to the Title IV of General Canons. This would add the sentence, "With the permission of the Standing Committee, the Diocese of Arizona may share intake officers, disciplinary board, and other participants in the Title IV process with one or more dioceses." I move this resolution to the floor and ask Erica Von Herren to come forward, second it, and speak to the resolution.
I second the motion. The Title IV disciplinary process involves a lot of people, and so trying to pull all of those people out of the same diocese has become more arduous for many. And so there is more sharing happening between dioceses, and we would like to be able to be a part of that.
Would anyone like to speak for or against this resolution? Then all those, keep on.
Sorry, Christopher Campbell, St. Philip's in the Hills. Not necessarily for or against, the statement, I mean, is not necessarily for or against, but something to think of when voting on this is that the people who will then be on those Title IV committees will not necessarily have the same sense of like diocesan connection. That said, we are also in a very large, widespread diocese, and we may not all know each other as well as we wish we did. But in voting, it's something to think about that perhaps is a good thing that we have outside, third-party perspective that is weighing in on our Title IV decisions. However, that it may be a bad thing that people who have no connection to us and could care less about us, perhaps, would be voting in on our Title IV. Well, hopefully that's not the case, but but would be voting in on our Title IV decisions.
Aaron?
Aaron Coxoni, All Saints Episcopal Church and Day School in Phoenix. I'd like a point of clarification. Does this say that any, let's say, newly elected disciplinary board member could get traded to another diocese and Title IV issues?
Not currently. So it's saying that if the standing committee if we wanted to enter into a sharing agreement with another diocese, which many dioceses are doing now, the standing committee could authorize to do that. And in the agreements, the sharing agreements that I've seen from other dioceses, they did it gradually over time so that the disciplinary boards, you wouldn't get fired right away on your first day on the job, Aaron. Nor would you necessarily get traded to somebody else for a player to be named later. All right, so with no one else at the microphone, all those in favor of resolution 2024.25, clergy, we're so close to the end. Clergy in favor, raise your green cards. Clergy opposed, raise your red cards. Right. Lay delegates in favor, raise your green cards. Lay delegates opposed, raise your red cards. The resolution passes.
Resolution 2024.26, amend Canon 31, Section 4D, has been approved in the earlier omnibus resolution. This concludes all the resolutions that were submitted in the order to the Convention.
Erica can now go to her seat. Though I am required to ask, are there any resolutions from the floor? All right, seeing none, we will proceed. I now call for reports by title. Each congregation received notification of the reports being available online prior to the start of convention. Receiving the reports by title means I don't have to read all of them to you now. Are you in favor of this? Please raise your green cards. I want to see those green cards. You got so good at it. Those who would like to hear me read all the reports, please raise your red cards. There's one. There's always one. The reports by title have been received. I wish to offer many thanks for today. Huge thanks to St. Philip's for hosting us. Particularly to their chairs of the event, Nancy Atherton and Bonnie Wynn. And thanks for giving all of us an experience of worship that was very Protestant and simple and brief, and had a seating for the bishop that was modest. Huge thanks to all of the volunteers, both those from St. Philip's and those from across the diocese. We could not have convention without you. And as I said during the Eucharist, thanks to all those who were worship leaders in that experience. Announcements. In the 2025 Diocesan Convention will be held October 10th and 11th. Note that, it's a different weekend. October 10th and 11th at All Saints Church and Day School in Phoenix. So we will go back to having a 2-day convention. Our convention speaker will be the Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney, author of the Women's Lectionary. And so you have permission to use the Women's Lectionary. I encourage you in the next year to explore that in your congregation if possible, so that when Dr. Gaffney speaks to us next year, you will know what she's talking about. Evaluation forms will be sent by email. This is very important for future convention planning, so please fill out the evaluation forms. Please return lanyards and name tags to boxes located at the doors to the sanctuary at the end of the day. And I'm gonna pray first, and then I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn. So let's stand up. Oh yeah. Woo. The Lord be with you. Also with you. Let us pray. Blessed and gracious God, we give thanks for the Episcopal Diocese of Arizona. Bless each of those present on their way home. Grant them a safe journey, and may their conversations in church together tomorrow as they share what transpired at this convention be for the upbuilding of the glory of God. We offer all of this in your holy name. Amen. Amen. Is there a motion to adjourn? Yes. Second? Yes. All right, convention is adjourned. Thank you all.